Hey folks, I'm just gonna do a little response to the questions that people are so kind to leave me a couple weeks back on the 500 subscriber celebration. So I'm just gonna basically read through these in lieu of actually commenting on them, just because I feel like I can give a little bit more of an elaborate and nuanced response spoken. So we'll jump right into it. Uh, so we'll just go from the top down. First up, we got Will's Bugram. Will writes, congrats on 500 subscribers. Here's to 500 more. I appreciate that tremendously. Hopefully, you're in a position now to terraform a property you can call your own. I'll put in some pictures. We actually just had a bunch of the freaking invasive Norway maples and Norway spruces and white mulberry taken down in the backyard, leaving essentially just a fragment of the mulberry that I was asked to leave because I mean they are delicious. They're just gotta make sure you stay on top of the saplings, pluck those out. We had a black cherry, we had a American elm. Most of the stuff is gone, and I'll again have pictures. As I'm recording this now, I'm gonna go out and buck all those logs tomorrow. Just slaughter them with the chainsaw. Just get rid of those. But yeah, I don't know if terraform's the right idea, but we're certainly gonna plant a nice abundance of native plants. I got a whole front yard too that is for the time being relatively presentable. I'm just going one day at a time, section by section, and eventually it'll get there. Um, the worst, I don't know why people do this, but just like some of the worst ideas that people come across or come up with when converting to native habitat or killing their lawn is just doing everything all at once, and it's such a pain in the ass. So we've got the front yard is unassuming for now, but rest assured the entire property it's gonna be nice. Lots of nice perennials, some shrubs, some trees. Gonna have a whole section just for veggie gardening because I still really like veggie gardening too. In addition to obviously my enthusiasm for native plants. So yeah, ideally the property it's gonna come together. It's gonna be nice. Thank you, Will's Bugram. Going down the line, we have Chahoopsy, Chajoopsy. I can't. I if I'm making if I'm not trying to make fun of it. If I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize. A big thank you for these awesome videos. That is incredibly kind of you. Keep it up, man. It's about time we had a northeastern equivalent of Crime Pays. Keep the vids coming. I look forward to the day this community expands to upwards of 500K and beyond. Well, that is certainly a goal to set for myself. The comparisons to Crime Pays come in from time to time. I definitely, we're talking almost three years ago, almost at this point. I started doing this probably about 5 or 6 since I got really into native plants. And I mean, I've always had an interest in gardening. I've been playing out in the woods and camping and just hiking, generally being outdoorsy for as long as I can remember. But the actual, it didn't really click the whole notion of just like really studying this thing until about 3 or 4 years ago. So I really appreciate that, the kind words. Also, just a random comment/observation isn't the best method for determining a particular plant's native status simply to know which ecoregion. So that is above and beyond my current knowledge. Oh, hang on, we got to hit the read more here. Ecoregion, it grows naturally throughout. Lobelia syphilitica may not be found in your particular county, but if it's native to the ecoregion that your county sits within, is it not that far off to suggest that it's basically a native plant? So the botanists in Massachusetts, which is where I live, would say no. That is not fair to suggest. In fact, they're, with Lobelia syphilitica specifically, on almost something of a campaign to have those taken out of the nursery trade, especially in the Northeast, because that plant, natural occurrences of that plant are incredibly rare. But it's relatively recent growth in popularities and ornamental has basically caused it to naturalize on a lot of places. It is only native to the far western corner of like southwestern Massachusetts. I'm going to kind of answer your question in two phases here. So I would say no, that is not good enough because I spend a lot of time in like the coastal Cape Cod pond shores. That's not even an ecoregion. That sits within a large ecoregion that's just simply called New England. What is it? New England coastal, northeastern coastal plain, which is huge. That is the ecoregion that I live in. And those ponds are a specific microhabitat found only in that ecoregion. And then even then you go from pond to pond, you're finding different species. So it's the same type of habitat, but there's still so much nuance that goes into it. This is above my pay grade, above my head. Short answer, no. Long answer, probably not. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm still planting hydrangea. I got a hydrangea arborescens. I've got Podophyllum paltatum, the mayapple planted. I've got all this stuff that's not really common and definitely not, definitely not native. Certainly not common and presumably not native, but yeah, you get away with it because the plant's not really rare anywhere. It grows naturally. You have to be really careful when you're planting. Here's the example I'll give. This is a relatively uncommon plant that does not occur throughout New England, but occurs in specific areas of it, and it's globally rare. And it's now been introduced to a county that it's not known from. It, just for the sake of studying population growth, it complicates things. I just would not, I personally would not make that assumption. Then again, I'm not going to go, I have Lobelia syphilitica planted, as you saw in that video. The people didn't tell me off aggressively. They just said, hey, I wouldn't, let it spread. Long story short, just I wouldn't go off of that as like gospel. You're probably fine, especially if you're planting. It's like a common enough plant and it's like one county over that it's found. You're probably fine. I'll cut myself off there. I generally don't know enough about this, and you will get many conflicting opinions off of this about this. So just take that with a grain of salt. I only bring this up because I did some research on ecoregions. So also you're going to get different definitions of ecoregions, like the northeastern U.S., the quote unquote northeastern hardwood forests are an ecotype that covers entire states. I mean, I don't live in a northeastern hardwood. Like I live in eastern Massachusetts. Like it's all oak and pine. It's very much like reminiscent of what you would get in the mid-Atlantic. You go, 45 minutes west of here, you get northern hardwood. On ecoregions, after wondering whether plants that are native to adjacent counties but not my own county could technically be regarded as native. So again, for New England, the answer is cut and dry no. The answer is very clearly no. But not Massachusetts is the most well-studied. Massachusetts is the most botanically inventoried and studied region probably of the Americas. There are so many botanists working in the state. It's a big deal when I discovered a new population of a fucking of the southern twayblade this year. Even that was like pretty much like holy shit, that's pretty cool. There's a video coming out where I look at like an undescribed species. So in summation, don't rest on that as gospel. Reach out to some local botanists in your area, get their opinion. It's probably fine, but I'm digging myself really deep into a hole by spending this much time talking about this because I honestly do not know. And the answer is probably going to vary from species to species. It's going to vary based on how well studied and how well inventoried that county is. You don't indicate where you're living. I mean, if you're in New England, it's pretty easy. Just go on like gobotany.com, pick up a Florinova anglii. You're going to get a pretty clear answer with some exceptions as to whether or not something has ever been collected from the county. And even when there is a question, they document it well. Nullumbalotea, which is the American lotus, is case in point with that. Just your mileage may vary. Reach out to some of your local people, get their opinion. I'm not trying to downplay what you're saying because I do think it's fine in most cases. Just double check with an actual professional. Yeah, it's beyond my purview too, my friend. Yeah, counties are just arbitrary bounties, but here's the thing. You have that's what you have to go with. And typically county level is the lowest people get down to, because you could have a massive county like Worcester County, Massachusetts, the biggest county in Worcester County, Massachusetts covers the entire like east central part of Massachusetts. I personally know of plants that occur in one population in that entire county. Yeah, they're native to Worcester County, but they're not common. They're found in like the far northwestern wedge of Worcester County. Worcester County is adjacent to Middlesex County. Does that mean that I can just plant a species of this, plant this species that's found in one specific location right at the boundary of the county that's super far away from my county? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend doing that. And again, I've talked about this way too long. I'm not an expert. Consult with local botanists. You'd be surprised how friendly they are, and you would be very pleased with how willing they are to talk about this exact subject. Sorry, I couldn't give you a straight answer. I hope that did not come across as like critical or aggressive. I do not know, and I am only referencing examples that I've experienced in my own life. Best of luck to you, my friend. Lawson Russo 5355 comments, congrats on 500. Thank you, sir. I recommend placing bricks around the perimeter of the bed. It'll prevent runoff of the mulch. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Haven't had an issue with runoff on the mulch so far. We will see what happens. Have you ever thought about going to other places in the United States to see and document their native flora? Yeah, of course. My dad used to live down in Louisiana. I used to have a ton of family down in like northeastern Alabama, like the mountainous part, like the Appalachian part of Alabama, not the Gulf part of Alabama, which Alabama, for the unindoctrinated, is probably... It is considered the most botanically diverse state, barring Florida, Texas, and California in the U.S. It's a credible state. You go up to like, I don't know if they get up to 4,000 feet, but you get some elevation. It's like oh God, I'm going to eat my words. I might be wrong. I might be thinking of Georgia when I say this, but I think they definitely have a ton of pines down there, but it's like the farthest south. It's basically like, I think that is the farthest southwest corner you get any remnant of like the Appalachian mountain boreal forest, which we have a ton of here in New England, like fir. I mean, they definitely don't get fir down there, but like spruce. Oh no, Fraser fir is relegated to the Carolinas. It's too far north. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like white pine basically tapers out in that region. You get all the Gulf flora. You get all sorts of cool like carnivorous plants. You get all these cool Gulf Coast plants. It's a very interesting. You get prairie down there. It's a very interesting state. I would have loved to have been into the stuff when my family still lived down there. So yeah, short answer yes. Long answer, it's going to take me a minute and a half to get out there just due to my life's obligations. I got people here that I have to look out for, yada yada yada. Panhandle of Florida, yeah, absolutely. The Gulf Coast, I get some roots down there. I mean, I'm bred, born and raised New England. I've lived in Maine, I've lived in New Hampshire, I lived in Massachusetts. I spent a lot of time down in Connecticut, spent a lot of time recently up in Vermont. I get around, I really do, especially like even locally, like down in the Jersey Pine Barrens, there's good stuff. Out in New York, like New York is where you finally like, you're done with like all the acidic soil that makes up the majority of eastern New England. You start getting some really nice like limestone. Pennsylvania's got some great stuff. Pennsylvania's got some like really narrow endemic species. Pretty cool. So yeah, definitely it's just going to be a matter of like, can I make that happen? Yeah, carnivorous plants and orchids, that's my ship. That's my ship, buddy. I would definitely love to go down there. Baby Boomer Couch Potatoes 728. Congratulations on 500. I always enjoy your videos. I appreciate that tremendously, my friend. I grew that same Hoya. Oh yeah, the little dying Hoya in the video that I have many years ago. I no longer have it, but I did give it to some friends who still have it decades later. Oh, impressive. One has it in indirect light in the greenhouse. The other has it in an east-facing window. Both plants are quite large now, as you can imagine. Neither person is good at watering, and they like it dry. That's what I'm finding out now. Definitely go dry. When in doubt, honest to God, when in doubt, go dry. Unless you're growing something like a Fittonia. most indoor plants, especially if you're in the Northeast where it's cold and for half of the year it's dark as fuck, you really don't need to water your plants. They're gonna just go dormant if they can, especially like succulents. Like don't from the month of October to the month of April, if you have a cactus in New England and it's indoors, which I mean it would have to be unless you're talking like maybe Opuntia humifusa or Opuntia sesspitosa would survive outside, but you don't even bother watering them. Just leave them alone. Yeah, dry is the way to go. Raw is, for an indoor plant in New England, raw is definitely way more of your concern than drying out. I've got a Photonia. I've been waiting for that bitch to fucking die, and it came back. And even then, I was watering it too much, and that's a plant that you're not supposed to let dry out. It's so humid here, and it's so dark for half the year. The plants are basically shutting down. Just yeah, I'll take that advice to heart. I'll let it, I have been letting it dry out. It seems to be doing fine. So it would probably be good just to let it. Yeah, it's been out of the water for a while now. I appreciate the feedback. Good luck with that in the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. Timothy Giersby. I'm also a Polish boy, my friend. I hope I'm getting that right, or maybe some other, maybe like a Baltic nation. Anyway, congratulations on 500 subscribers. I appreciate the shit out of this content. I appreciate the shit out of you, Timothy. Paulie Younger says, congrats on 500 subs. Thank you, sir. I'm curious if you have any favorite Northeast native plants from a foraging food perspective. I'm not a forager. No offense. I do think it's a little goofy. I am starting to get into mushroom foraging just because you can pick a mushroom and it's not actually like hurting the plant. I have a real big problem with people who are ripping out entire plants, like especially with like the ghost pipe bullshit. Like just leave them in the ground. Stuff. What will I actually pick? Yeah, I'll pick a bolete. I'll pick a nice morel. I know those aren't plants; those are mushrooms. I definitely harvest berries. I love blueberries, love raspberries, love blackberries. You know, if I don't carry like a foraging bag on me or anything, but if I come across like a nice patch of blueberries or blackberries like in the woods, oh yeah, I'll like pick a handful and chow down. I'm honestly more of like a gardener than I am forager. I really like to garden. I really like to grow my own food. I highly recommend it. Not dunking on foraging or anything. Just to me, it's always seemed like a little bit silly, especially when you're talking about like the people who do like the medicinal stuff or allegedly medicinal in most cases. Let's just be completely blunt. Yeah, I know there are pharmaceuticals derived from plants, obviously, but yeah, I don't want to piss anybody off. If you're a forager and you watch this channel, just that's not my bag. I'm not shitting on you. Leave the endangered plants alone, and just be really fucking careful if you're talking about picking stuff for medicine because, yeah, no, they do work sometimes a little too well. That's the problem. You can distill some rather potent pharmaceuticals out of some plants. Just be careful, you know what I mean? Know what you're doing. But yeah, picking berries, like yeah, I'll go pick some blueberries. I tried chokeberry on accident, thinking it was a huckleberry. It was pretty good too. Yeah, definitely like chokeberry jam is something that I tasted one. I'm like, this is pretty good because I like bitter sour things. And I sought out some chokeberry jam, which is like, I guess, a New England staple, Aronia melanocarpa. It's in a lot of videos. Go check it out. It's a really cool acid loving, like bog, but also completely dry, like the pine barrens it'll grow in too. Like if you're out in the Miles Standish Forest, a ton of it there too. So sorry I couldn't give you a better answer, but I'm not really big on it. But yeah, blueberries are probably my favorite fruit, and that's like when I think of New England fruits, I think of blueberries and I think of cranberries. And cranberries is not really something you'd forage and pick and eat. But I definitely love cranberry sauce, definitely love cranberry juice, definitely love a good cranberry bog, and blueberry, because I mean, you can't fucking go wrong with blueberries. And then my only other thing is I also think of like apples too, because we have a great climate to grow apples in, but I mean, those aren't really, those aren't native to New England. We have a ton of native prunus species, like amygdaloideae, that whole subfamily, which apples, cherries, plums, peaches, they're all in that subfamily. Like a lot of edible apple fruits are in that family. I don't think we have any native Malus, which is the genus of apples to New England. I could be wrong. There might be a crab apple. Let's look this up. Let's look this up over here. I'll put this up on the thing. We'll go to, this is a good lesson. If you ever have a question about something, first of all, find out what genus something is in, because a lot of plants, and I got into this recently with Szechuan peppercorn. Szechuan peppercorn is a species of Xanthoxylum. There is a native species of Xanthoxylum in New England that we're actually going to look at in a future video. But it's also, there's a bunch of species native to China. Any one of those, you can, the majority of them, you can pick, and it tastes like a Szechuan peppercorn. It makes your mouth numb. It's spicy. It's citrusy. It's really good. I love Szechuan peppercorn. But they grow, it's not one species that's being harvested for that particular spice. Same goes with a lot of fruits. You know what I mean? It might be a variety. Apples are a whole clusterfuck. But let's just see. Go botany, Malus. M-A-L-U-S. Apple. The genus of apples. Let's see. Are any of these? Okay, so we only have 5 species collected from New England. Malus baccata, Siberian crabapple. Nope, that's an invasive species. Malus floribunda is a Japanese apple. That's invasive. Or not invasive, just advantative. Malus prunifolia. That is the Chinese crabapple. That's the common one that you see planted a lot. Malus pumila. Oh, I'm sorry. Malus pumila, which is the cultivated apple. Nope, that is native to China, but found basically throughout the contiguous United States. Weirdly, not the central states. That's interesting, but in the deserts. That's fascinating to me. And then Malus ceboldii. Taringo crabapple. I've actually seen these. These popped up in a video. So no, there are no native species of Malus to New England. So I don't know what question I was answering, but I hope that answers it. All right, and last question. Hey, I'm lucky to have been recommended your videos randomly. Hey, I am lucky that got to you a few months back. What is your iNaturalist if you have one? My iNaturalist is NEcology. Be forewarned. I've had to stop responding to messages. I actually feel really bad. Someone messaged me months, I've had a few people message me. I don't like the idea of just meeting up with strangers via iNaturalist. So you can message me, especially if it's a question. I'm not giving you any species populations, and I'm not likely not going to meet up with you unless you watch this channel and we've interacted. Go ahead, send your message. But if your message is basically hey, can you show me X rare species? The answer is no. I've gotten in the habit recently of obscuring all my observations just because people have found places I've been to, and they just, I hate to be that person who's they blew up the spot, but at least in 2 cases, they definitely blew up the spot. I had a local botanist mad at me. I had some of my actual in real life friends who are into the stuff mad at me. Just please don't put me in that position. I'm not going to respond. If you want to say hi, go ahead. But yeah, it's NEcology. It's the same thing as me. I obscure basically everything though, so you're not really going to be able to follow my footsteps. I don't even post everything on iNaturalist. There's some really rare stuff coming down the pipeline that I didn't even bother. But yeah, you can follow me. Ask me questions like people do on the YouTube channel. I'm not going to be an asshole to you. If you legitimately have hey, I'm in the region, you talked about this plant, is this that? Yeah, I'll take a whiff, you know what I mean? Hey, or it's especially if it's a species I'm really into. If you think you're coming across Liatris nova anglii and you're just tagging me in an iNaturalist post, please go ahead. But yeah, don't randomly hit me up and be hey, can you show me where the one population of butterwort is in New England? Don't do that. It's a really bad form. Don't do that to anybody on iNaturalist, actually. Just don't. Even before I started this YouTube channel, I had people commenting weird stuff on some of I have a few local endemics like Potentilla binziana. I've gotten some weird comments on that. Just don't do that. It's bad form. Okay, and then he concludes, or they conclude, I've just started college, but over the past year, I've been teaching myself botany. You have a nice collection of native local ecologists already. Yeah, that's the way to do it, my friend. I have a master's degree in psychology, but I barely fucking put that thing to use. I've been teaching myself about plants, for the last, God, going on 5 years now. I've been reading up about this stuff, read research papers, get textbooks, get every piece of information you can, talk to local people that know and care about the stuff. Yeah, teach yourself it by any means necessary. That's the way that I did it. That's the way I recommend doing it. And all the more power to you. Thank you for commenting. So, those are the questions we got. Hopefully, that didn't come across too standoffish. I just don't. I'm pretty private. I don't really like people being like, "Oh, can I meet you? Can I meet you?" Um, just because at this point I've had enough bad interactions, even with only 500 subscribers. It's not even people from the YouTube. It's just people who see that I like to find rare stuff and, bad actors, as they would say. But, I don't always automatically intend nefarious intent. And like I said, I really please, if you do have a legitimate question, an ID question, it's something I've talked about, it's a plant I really like, feel free to tag me just to get my 2 cents. Message me if you have a question, like generally about botany. I'd be happy to answer that. Just I've gotten, and I really hope, like, if you've done this, I'm not putting you on blast, but I've gotten quite a few cold calls to just be like, hey, come like hang out with me. And it's just never, I did it twice and it was bad both times. Anyway, we'll wrap this up. Thank you all for commenting. Here's to, another 500. Maybe we'll do this again at 1,000. Maybe we'll do a live stream at some point. I would love to do like gardening live streams where I can answer Q&As like on the thing. I probably will not put my face on air just because I see no need to or no reason to. I think only negative things could come from it. Yeah, we'll cut it off there. Thank you guys so much. I am not even sure what video I'm editing tomorrow, but as I'm recording this, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I gotta go chop up a bunch of logs tomorrow. So take it easy, guys. Have a good one.